It's been raining this morning, so I'm sheltering under the tall pine trees here on the West Cliff. These trees were planted in the early days of Bournemouth for their health-giving qualities. Nowadays, even on a day like this, the pine trees frame the view over the bay, and their resiny scent gives an almost Mediterranean feel to the place. Now, the rain's easing off, so we can dash in and put the kettle on for a pot of tea.
Hello, I'm Peter John Cooper. Over the years, many people have retired here for their health-giving benefits of the pine groves. We may think because they're getting on in years they have not much to offer the world. But I think you'd be surprised by the secrets some of these people are still guarding. Today's tale from the cliff edge is called Dame Amelia and the Dreaded Tea Council. I have spoken before about the redoubtable Dame Amelia Vole and her surprisingly athletic companion, Miss Pymm, and how they seem to be peaceably ensconced here on the West Cliff in Bournemouth with nothing more taxing than occasional disputes with fellow residents of Reginald and Dame Amelia's predilection for certain injectable substances. But dark clouds seem to be gathering out there on the horizon. Miss Pymm is spending more time exercising with the weights in the gym and honing her jiu-jitsu skills. The Tea Council is on the move. It may be time for Dame Amelia to emerge from her comfortable retirement and tackle her erstwhile foes. One morning, at just the time when most people are enjoying a second cup of coffee, Dame Amelia is pouring a rich flow of broken orange pekoe from a small teapot that may, or may not, have originated in Tang Dynasty China. Dame Amelia has particular affection for the poetry of the Golden Age Tang, which supplanted the barbarous Sui. She has long ago learnt the wisdom that there is always a model for good conduct in one's tea-drinking habits. There is a ring at the bell. Miss Pymm looks towards Dame Amelia as if to say, "Are we expecting anyone?" Dame Amelia nods, and with the grace and sinew of a panther, the tall and angular Miss Pymm springs to the small window by the door, where she can survey the visitor through the artfully arranged blinds. She looks back to Dame Amelia with a puzzled expression. "I think I know who it might be. A gentleman in a shabby brown suit and a cloth cap." Miss Pymm nods assent. "Very well, let him in." With obvious misgiving, Miss Pymm removes the heavy chains from the door and opens it a little at a time. The figure, small and wiry, shoots a quick gaze out into the landing and slips in. Miss Pymm clicks the lock and stands poised ready to deal with any jiggery-pokery in a split second. "You can call off your watchdog," says the visitor. "She's making me feel uncomfortable." Dame Amelia nods to Miss Pymm, who, still wary, mouth in a barely concealed snarl, retires slightly. "Sit down, Jim," says Dame Amelia, and Jim duly sits in the other armchair. "Thank goodness, I had my doubts I'd get here in one piece." Dame Amelia smiles. "Would you do the honours, please, Miss Pymm?" Miss Pymm sidles round and pours another cup from the teapot. Jim sips from the bone china and lets the golden brew linger on the palate with expert appreciation. "Very well, you can come out from behind your excellent camouflage. You are quite safe here." Jim removes the cap and shakes out a mass of chestnut-curled hair. "Miss Pymm, this is Miss Cheesewright. We have been corresponding for some time. She has unfortunately fallen foul of our friends at the Tea Council. Now, do you think you were followed?" "Oh, I can't be I can't be certain," says Miss Cheesewright. "I did as you suggested, taking all precautions, but—" She lowers her voice. "There was somebody in a long white trench coat and trilby hat that I'm sure I spotted a number of times, but I think I threw them off the scent. I haven't spotted them at all since I got to Bournemouth." "An old trick I learnt in India. If you're following somebody, you make yourself as conspicuous as possible at the beginning, and then near the end you remove the obvious clothing and fade into the crowd before closing in for the kill." "Oh, goodness!" squeaked Miss Cheesewright. "I am, of course, speaking theoretically. However, I think we may expect more visitors." Miss Cheesewright looks anxious. "Now, do you have the document?" "I do. I have it safe." "And no doubt you kept touching it throughout your journey to ensure it was still in place." "Yes, I did want to be sure nothing could happen to it, thus revealing to your follower that you were carrying something of value." "Oh dear, have I rather messed things up?" "Not at all. However, I think we may have revealed more of our hand than we would have wished. Give me the document. I will put it in the safe." At that instant, there came a pounding at the door. I rather think Nemesis is at hand." Miss Pymm is on the knife edge of anticipation. "Better let Nemesis in, Miss Pymm, before the door is quite broken down." Miss Pymm is aghast, but she sees Dame Amelia pass her hand over her sleeve where she keeps the silver derringer, and she knows that everything is ready in place. She slips the lock back, and at once the door crashes open, and a solidly built woman in a long trench coat and trilby forces it wide with her heavy black boots.
"Okay, sister, you know what I've come for."
"I'm afraid we've nearly finished tea, but I can ask Miss Pymm to put the kettle on again."
"Don't get funny with me."
"Biscuit, then?"
"Hand over the document. I have a revolver in my pocket that will blow your head clean off."
Dame Amelia holds up her hands.
"Stand up, you."
She barks at Miss Cheesewright and pats her down, darting a hand into the inside pocket.
"Where is it?"
She sends a barbed glance around the room.
"Where's the safe? What's the combination?"
She leans across the desk to see if she can spot the safe.
"Right, all of you, into the bedroom while I give this place a thorough going over."
Dame Amelia obediently wheels her way into the room indicated,
Miss Pymm and Miss Cheesewright follow, Miss Pymm glowering.
Hey, what's all this?
Says the trench-coated tough nut. For this room is not a bedroom, but Miss Pymm's gym. It is not a large room, and Miss Pymm has to pick up some of the weights to allow enough space for them all to cram in.
You all think you're so clever. I'm going to sit here until you tell me what the combination to the safe is, and I'm happy to shoot bits off you until you cough.
She perches awkwardly on a box by the door.
Right, time's up. I'm going to enjoy this. You.
She gestures to Miss Cheesewright.
You're first because I dislike you intensely.
And goes to stand. But something strange has happened. She seems anchored to her seat. She tries again and lurches forward and crashes to the floor. Dame Amelia manoeuvres her chair forward until the wheel is squarely on the thug's hand. Her screams fill the air of the small room. Dame Amelia's silver derringer is in her hand. Miss Pymm swiftly searches Nemesis' pockets and removes various weapons of various levels of destruction. But she leaves the 2 large weights that she artfully slipped into the deep trenchcoat pockets whilst the thug wasn't looking. They have anchored the coat and its wearer securely in place. Half an hour later, and a windowless Black Maria has discreetly removed the miscreant, still clutching her broken fingers and uttering loud curses. "I'm sorry you couldn't stay for tea," calls Dame Amelia after her.
Never touch the filthy stuff. Us patriotic Americans have only ever drunk coffee since the affair of Boston. Tea is just a way to get rich.
And she has been whisked away. "I'm so sorry there was no time to explain earlier. Miss Cheesewright has recently inherited a large tea plantation in Ceylon. You've heard of Cheesewright's cheery chard, no doubt." Dame Amelia was explaining to Miss Pymm. She had resolved to put some of the excesses of her colonial forebears and make the plantation a cooperative enterprise. I was advising her how to get the deeds made over to the workers, but unfortunately the Tea Council wanted to get its greedy mitts on the place themselves and were applying pressure for her to sell. In the end, greed overcame them. But they haven't gone away, and transporting the deeds to Ceylon, well, that is an adventure for another day. "Of course, I wouldn't have been able to reveal the combination of the safe anyway, even if she had tortured me," said Miss Cheesewright, musing on their lucky escape. "There would have been no need. The document was never in the safe. I didn't have the time. Instead, I hid it where somebody as dumb as Nemesis would never find it. I left the document in full view among all the other papers on the desk. She actually had a hand on it at one point. I knew she would fixate on the safe, so I left it hiding in plain sight. The Tea Council's operatives are not known for their wit and wisdom. Now, have we any more of your delicious homemade cinnamon swirls, Miss Pymm?" Thank you for listening to that tale from the cliff edge, and a special thanks to Holly Cooper, who played the part of Nemesis. Have you ever thought of retiring to Bournemouth? Have you got an interesting previous life as a spy or a master criminal? If you have something you'd like to reveal to the world, well, just be careful, because you never know who might be listening from behind the pines.